minor changes here and there. Okay, so please note. Yeah. So requirement gathering and analysis, design, develop and implement the class, and code and testing and deployment and maintenance. Right. So So everybody please join on time. I can't really wait this much time. Okay. Yeah. So STLC has many phases. First one is requirement gathering and analysis, design, development, and then testing and deployment and the maintenance. If you take any software in the current times, most of the times all the softwares have to follow this 6 phases with minor changes. If you take telecom domain, okay, they also follow the same model. And if you take banking applications which are developed for banking domain also follow the same model. Okay. And then irrespective of the domain with minor changes here. Then coming to STLC. What is this STLC? Software Development Lifecycle is for the software development. And for testing, we follow software testing lifecycle. That is for testing the software. How many phases are there? How many phases are there? See, as a software testing is part of software STLC, inside STLC we follow STLC. That means while developing the software, we follow these 6 phases, right? Requirement gathering, analysis, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. Under testing, we follow this model called a software testing lifecycle. So software testing lifecycle has again different phases. One is again same called requirement gathering and analysis. Requirement gathering. What is STLC? Software testing lifecycle. Okay. So next one is okay. We gather the requirements and analyze the requirements. What are the requirements? Whatever the requirements we get from the clients. Okay. Am I audible now, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we gather the requirement, analyze the requirements. What are the requirements? See, software companies follow different naming conventions. We also call FRS. Okay, SRS. FRS means Functional Requirement Specification Document. SRS stands for System Requirement Specification. SRS basically have the details of the entire application. Not entire application, entire domain. For example, ICICI Bank you are working. And ICICI Bank has so many modules, right? All the details of this ICICI Bank would be there in SRS, System Requirement Specification Document. What about FRS? FRS means, for example, you are considering or testing only the internet banking. We have different type of bankings available, right? ICICI Bank has so many different type of LOBs, line of businesses. One of the line of business is internet banking, right? Enter internet banking. Particularly for internet banking, we have a FRS document, Functional Requirement Specification Document. And along with that, from project to project, they call with a different naming convention like user stories, use cases, and user stories. What is use case? What is user story? Both are same. Both one another same. Okay. You can say the hierarchy, how it works, SRS is a parent document. Inside SRS, we have FRS. Not exactly inside FRS. Inside FRS, we have actually Okay, user stories. User stories. Okay, inside user stories, what we have actually? Okay, we have actually use cases. Use cases. Okay, so STLC, software testing lifecycle, it also follow a procedure or standard methodology to implement the testing in more efficient manner in a software development. To develop the software, we follow STLC, software development lifecycle. STLC has total 6 phases: requirement gathering, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. STLC also has a set of steps that needs to follow. First one is requirement gathering and analysis. Under requirement gathering analysis, we gather FRS, SRS, use cases, and user stories. SRS stands for System Requirement Specification. FRS stands for Functional Requirement Specification, and user stories and use cases. Fine, absolutely fine. Now we have requirement. And what exactly we do as a tester under analysis phase? We analyze the requirements. We analyze as a tester, as a developer, both. Okay, developer also has to analyze, tester also has to analyze. What exactly we do under analysis phase? Okay, so we take the KT from the client. Client will give KT means knowledge transmission. Knowledge transmission. Okay, so he will share all his knowledge about the application to the vendor. Vendor means we are vendors. Okay, so after getting the transition from the client, what we do? We understand the application in and out. Okay, we understand the application in and out. Slow learn. Yeah, we understand the application in and out. Then next phase is actually second one, actually test design. Okay, second phase is test design. Yeah. What is test design? Test design, basically we design the test cases. As a tester, we design test cases. At the same time, what exactly the developer does? See, if you take any project, IT project, there are two teams involved. One is a development team and the one is a testing team. Development team does the development activities, testing team does the testing activities. Okay, so as a tester, we design test cases. Then what exactly the developer does? Developer also does designing. We discussed right here, designing. Okay, so he involved in a high level design and a low level design. That is all about the designing phase. So under design, what we do? In this design phase, we, after analyzing the requirements, we basically identify the test scenarios. We identify test scenarios. Okay, after that, and then we identify test cases. Okay, right? And we identify test steps. This is what we do during designing phase. Okay, so how do I identify? After analyzing the requirements, the cycle goes something like this. FRS document. Okay, FRS or SRS. Functional requirement or a system requirement specification or use cases. After that, we analyze these requirements, SRS, FRS, and use cases. We derive test scenarios. After that, we derive test cases. And then we derive test steps. I will explain how to derive these test steps, test scenarios, and test cases later. But in STLC, software testing lifecycle, in this phase, especially test design phase, this is what our activity, this is what actually our task is. Our task here is we have to derive test scenarios based on the FRS document and SRS document and use cases. Based on the test scenarios, we derive or we identify test cases, and finally we identify test steps. Hope we are clear. Yeah, any doubts in this one? Yes, yes, no, no, yes.
No.
Okay. So this is what actually we test. Yeah, good. Now, what's the next phase? Under STLC, software testing lifecycle, requirement gathering is over, analyzing the requirements is over, then test design is over. We design the test cases, and then the next phase is actually test case development. So what exactly the developer does during this phase? Developer also develops his code. Developer works on his respective module and develop the code, develop classes, Java classes or C# classes, developing APIs, developing interfaces, developing the front end, back end, okay, API calls. Okay, so developer basically works on his respective development activities. Okay, as a tester, what we do, we develop the test cases. Okay, so during development phase, what we do, we write basically test cases, develop test scenarios, develop test scenarios. That's what we do. We write the test cases. If you are an automation tester, you are an automation developer. As an automation developer, what we do, you also develop the test scenario, test scripts basically, not test scenarios, test scripts. Okay, so to develop test scripts, we use various programming languages, Java and all. Then we develop the test scripts. And to write the test cases, we write the test cases manually. Okay. So this is the third phase in STLC, software testing lifecycle. First one is requirement gathering analysis and test design, and a test case development. Next one, test case development is over. Okay, for each and every phase, okay, for each and every phase, we have a entry and exit criteria. What is entry and exit criteria? Okay, what is entry and exit criteria? See, in STLC, okay, we have a concept called entry and exit criteria. What is this entry and exit criteria? Who can answer this question? What is entry and exit criteria? See, entry means there is a criteria to enter into the phase. Exit means there is again a criteria to exit from the phase. Okay, as discussed, every software follows STLC, software development lifecycle. Under software development lifecycle, we have 6 phases: requirement gathering and analysis, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. What is the entry criteria for requirement gathering? What is the entry criteria for a requirement gathering?
Information from the client.
Gathering the requirements.
Client information.
Super, super. Client
Information we have to gather.
Okay. See, the first and foremost phase before requirement gathering is actually, we call actually stakeholder meeting. Stakeholders meeting. Okay. During stakeholder meeting, what they decide actually, they define the scope. They define the scope, and client agree to share the requirement gathering and all requirement documents. That means FRS and SRS documents. Okay, got it? So you can say this is actually another phase called analysis. 1.1. 1.1 is analysis. Okay. So what is the entry criteria for analysis? Entry criteria of analysis is actually having SRS and FRS document. Can you analyze the requirement without FRS and SRS document?
No.
No. That means first of all, we should have FRS and SRS documents in hand. So the entry criteria for requirement analysis is, okay, documentation of FRS and SRS document. What is the exit criteria of analysis phase? What is the exit criteria for analysis phase?
So once
So,
we get the requirement
yeah.
from the client.
Correct. Requirement understanding documents. Requirement understanding documents from a team. That means, so client will give KT, right? We also have to give reverse KT. As a tester, as a developer, we also have to give a reverse KT. So that reverse KT details would be there in a requirement understanding document. Requirement understanding a document. So based on the request understanding document only, we prepare a design document. Then what is the entry criteria for design? What is the entry criteria for design? So here the entry criteria is SRS or FRS documents. Okay, and exit criteria is actually understanding document. Understanding document. What is the entry criteria here? Entry criteria for design is actually understanding document. And what is the exit criteria? High level design document, or low level design document. Okay, document is the exit criteria. What is the entry criteria for development? Yes, okay. Exit criteria, sorry, entry criteria for development is HLD, high level design document and low level design document. And what is the exit criteria?
Classes are code.
Classes, super. Classes, okay, code basically. Okay, APIs and so on. These are actually exit criteria. That means code is freezed. We have developed the code. Then coming to the testing, what is the entry criteria for testing?
Classes are code.
Yes, build is ready. Build. Okay, build or executable exe file of the exe files of the development code, developer's code. And what is the exit criteria?
So maybe any bugs or something will be there after testing.
Yes. Okay. Test case execution report. Test case execution report. That means bug report. Okay, bug report. Then what about deployment? Deployment. Yeah, deployment
What
again.
is the entry criteria?
Correct. Okay. So bugs and all based on the number of bugs in test case report. Test execution report. A report. Okay. A report of testing team. Okay, this go to live. That is nothing but deployment. Okay, this is the entry criteria for deployment. What is the exit criteria? Access to, okay, client or public. Okay, what is the entry criteria for maintenance? We repeat these phases 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 multiple times. Finally, application go to maintenance phase based on the report from the this is also called actually closure report, test closure. Okay, app developers report. Okay, development team report or management report, whatever it is, management report. Based on the management report, application goes into the maintenance phase. From testing point of view, we basically provide a test closure report. Test closure report or a management report, one other same, right? So this is the entry and exit criteria of the STLC phase. So what is the entry criteria? Entry criteria means there is a criteria that we need to follow to enter into the phase. Exit criteria again we follow the same criteria to exit from the phase. That is all about entry criteria and exit criteria. Entry criteria and exit criteria. So for all the 6 phases, starting from requirement gathering, analysis, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance, for each and every phase has a entry and exit criteria. Similarly, STLC, software testing lifecycle, also follow entry and exit criteria. For entry into the requirement analysis is actually having SRS and SRS document in hand. Okay. For test design, we have to have a basic understanding document in phase. Okay, use cases and user stories. And the third one, what is the third one? Test development. So I think we have already. Okay. So test development. What is the entry criteria for test development? Documentation on test scenario, test steps, and test cases. Yeah, acts as an input to the test case development. Based on test scenarios, and we prepare a test cases. Okay. So then finally, the next phase is test execution. So this is where actually we execute our test cases. Clear? So test design, first requirement gathering, test design, test case development, test execution. This is what exactly happens in a STLC, software testing lifecycle. During execution time, what is the entry criteria for test execution? Tell me. Very simple. Anybody can answer this question.
Test cases are the entry for the test
Correct.
execution.
Entry criteria for test execution is test cases, having test cases in hand. What is the exit criteria?
After executing, whether we
Bug
get the
reports.
bugs or not. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Okay, bugs or bug reports or what is that acts as a exit criteria for a test execution. Okay, this is where actually we execute our test cases. Execute test cases. Test application. Okay, finally, so test case development is over, test execution is over. Finally, test. What's the next phase? Test closure activities.
Test closure.
Okay, closure. So the phase 1, 2, 3 again gets repeated. See, we gather the requirement, that is one-time activity. After we design the test cases and then test development, test case development, test execution. Okay, test closure or bug reporting. We can also say another activity called okay, test reporting. Okay, so the phase 2, 3, 4 basically gets repeated for each and every build. For example, you are developing an application. The entire application is divided into different sub functionalities. So for first 1 month, we are going to work on login, and then the next build, that is a build 1, build 2. In build 2, we are going to work on a issue checkbook, and build 3, we are going to work on a reset pin in a banking application. In build 4, we are going to work on a enhanced credit limit, and build 5, build 6, and so on. So each application is divided into different builds. So this test design, development, execution, reporting, that keep on go on until unless the application is fully tested. Okay, until application is fully tested, as a tester, we have to repeat this cycle. Okay, we have to repeat this cycle. Okay, so each cycle contains phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5. How many cycles will be there? Purely depending on the number of builds. Purely depending on the number of builds in your project. So test reporting happens over here. And finally, okay, test closure. What is test closure happens? After fully tested, after testing the application completely in and out, finally we go for a test closure activities. Test closure is nothing but we prepare a report. Inside the report, we mention if there are any open defects out there. If there are any open defects, we basically send the closure report to the client. Okay, that is all about the test closure. So this is all about STLC, software testing lifecycle. Software testing lifecycle has a requirement gathering, test design, test case development, test execution, test reporting, and a test closure. What happened? Fine. Yeah, here where you can see STLC. Okay, so this is all about the software testing life cycle. To show you. Yeah. So these are the various phases of software testing life cycle: requirement analysis, test planning. Yes, very important phase is test planning. Okay, before going to design the software testing, we perform a test plan also. So who will prepare test plan? As a tester, you never involve. We never ever involve test planning. Only test manager will prepare a test plan. Test manager, along with the help of test leads, prepare a test plan. Test design, environment setup, test execution, and a test closure. Okay. In this phase, we analyze the requirements. In this phase, we plan the testing activities. We design the test cases. We create an environment ready to perform the test execution, and then finally test closure. So these are the activities under a software testing lifecycle: requirement analysis, test planning, test case development, environment setup, test execution, and test closure activities. Okay. Well, so requirement gathering analysis we have seen already. Okay, what about test plan? What exactly we do? Okay, test plan, nothing actually. Test plan defines the scope, in scope and out scope of the application, and the approach we follow, and resources and schedule for our testing activities. Okay, we also have say how many people are going to work on this project, what is their roles and what is their responsibilities, what are the risks involved, and their corresponding mitigation plan. Risks means we may have so many risks, right? For example, you are going to test application, suddenly network is down. That is a risk. Okay. Suddenly the build is failed. The development team which they have handed over to us actually failed. What we do next? Okay. And we basically list out all the risks involved and their contingency plan. Okay. So test plan also have the details on how we are going to test the application, who will do the testing, okay, how much time it is required, what is the start date, what is the end date, okay, what is the quality level that needs to be maintained during the test plan. Sorry, testing would be there. All those details would be there in a test plan. Okay. So we stop here for today. Tomorrow we'll discuss test plan in detail, and then we'll go further level. What is test strategy? What is the test plan? How to create test plan? How to create test strategy? And all we'll see. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions in today's session.
Hi, sir. I do have a question.
Go ahead.
So can you show us a small example on this life cycle, like STLC life cycle, like how we going to make the test case and how we are going to implement and how we are going to execute, so that it will give us a clear idea about the class today.
Sure, we'll do it. Definitely do it. But we can't understand until unless you are thorough with the concepts, right? We'll do it.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, then we stop here. Okay. Thank you.